Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning. Good morning. My lights still aren't working today. I don't know. But good morning. Good morning. Oh, yeah. Did we swap over with time zones? I guess I didn't notice because all of my watches are all digital. So we're actually here an hour earlier than normal. But so I guess maybe that's why I'm feeling so tired. we're spraying forward. Okay, well, I did it and I didn't even notice. So, hey, good morning. Micah is here. Good morning. Good morning, James Bacon. Hello, Eric, coming in from Facebook. Good to see you, Eric. Zero the Blade is here. Let's see. Zero Theory is here. And Micah says, please do like and subscribe if you are here. If you have found your way here by the algorithm, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Let's see what's going on. Has everybody been productive today or yesterday? I have not. I mean, I have not been. I did not get up again today. I don't know what. I got to get myself back on track over here. Don't want to get back into bad habits. Yeah, Zero Theory says that It auto springs for us now. Yep, I auto sprung. That's exactly what happened. Hey, David, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the morning grind. Today we are going to be discussing the Dark Sun campaign setting. We've looked at most of, well, what we thought was the interesting part of the culture of the world. And then today, we're going to be going into that rule book, because we looked at that a little bit yesterday and we realized that it wasn't a standalone book. I thought it was a standalone kind of thing because it's got the same kinds of chapters as the player's handbook, but it looks like it's going through and just talking about things that are different in Dark Sun. So I am interested in that. Mike is here. Good morning, Mike. Hello, Vanessa. Welcome, Vanessa. I'm thinking this morning because of I've got to get myself back under control. Ordinarily on Sunday, we do the Crafter's Corner, but I'm looking at my miniatures sitting over here, and I only have to finish, in order to finish this elf quest pack, I've only got to finish 4 more elf miniatures that have already been started, and then the Mage and the Mirror quest pack will be done. And I'm thinking that might not be enough to go ahead and do a Crafter's Corner tonight. I may just try to finish those sitting here in a little bit, get those done. Then that will be off my plate, and I can get my painting stuff off my desk here. I'm going to move a painting station, I think, into the living room or the bar area of the kitchen, where I can paint, and I think stream from there, maybe. Or at this desk over here. I'm going to set up a different place where I can paint and stream. But I do want to finish these so then I can just focus my mind on doing our board game streaming coming soon and do some dinner and a board game. So I can focus on that rather than just the painting. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Crafter's Corner tonight. We will see. And if I do something else, stay tuned here. I'll post to the YouTube community section, but I'll also put out a post to the Ravenkeep Discord. If you are here and you're not part of the Ravenkeep Discord, let me put out the Discord link. The discussion continues in the Ravenkeep Discord server, so it'd be great to see everybody. Micah says, yes and no. Got 2 updates on updates a day on the Farid system dev Discord, plus a tiny bit of writing, but not much else productive-wise the last few days, but working on the last 5. Yeah, I've just had a horrible time getting myself up. You notice I have not been answering the call to adventure in the mornings. I've just had a terrible time getting myself up and working at things. I've been continuing to work with trying to build out shorts for our worlds. So there'll be more shorts coming out on the Cypher Discord, the Black Cypher, not Discord, YouTube channel, the Black Cypher YouTube channel. Today on alien abductions. There'll be a whole series on alien abductions. Let's see. Let me give you that link, then we'll get started with here. What I want to do in the future is be comparing the Black Cypher, how it does the dark. Black Cypher is our paranormal world of horror. Black Cypher. With I was starting to write some scripts yesterday for the Unspeakable Cults, which is the fantasy Cthulhu one. So I want to compare that, and we'll just see which one happens to work better, because I have no idea what type of world people want. So let's just make several of them, and see what happens. Zero the Blade says, I got a few sections of my tabletop RPG doc filled out. Good. Congratulations. We have to support the support productivity. Micah says, had good blood sugar and work shifts, off tonight, off tomorrow, thankfully. Yeah, I guess so. Zero Theory says, alien abduction sounds like something interesting to probe into. Yes, it does. Okay, let's breathe and sip, and then let's go over here to our Dark Sun. All right, everybody got your favorite drink? You got coffee? You got everything ready? Let's breathe. Do it with me. 2 deep inhales, and then complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. And sip. Feel better. Okay. Yeah, I was as far as the Unspeakable Cults go, I want to continue to push myself in the AI video making department. And so I've got some new skills that I want to try out specifically. I just barely started thinking about what like the first test scripts over on Unspeakable Cult should be. And I want to push myself with the production quality of the videos. So we'll see. Okay, chapter 3, player character classes. So we were just saying, okay, we had just started this. So Dark Sun is a world of powerful psionics, and we're going to take a look at psionics too. People are calling for us to do Planescape like this as well. We might do psionics and then also take a look at Planescape. Though I do have some other stuff to take a look at too, with Heaven and Hell and things like that. But there's a lot for us to talk about in the morning grind. So warrior classes. There are 3 different classes within the warrior group on Athos. Okay, so this is a change. Fighter, Ranger, and Gladiator. Fighter, Ranger. So there's no Paladin. I believe Paladin was in the warrior class. So the fighters are skilled warriors trained for both individual combat and warfare and military formations. Characters of this type are a mainstay of any organized military force. The Ranger is a warrior knowledgeable in the ways of the wilderness, skilled in surviving the rigors of the wild oasis and the brutal stretches of desert between them. Many slave tribesmen are Rangers. Okay, that's interesting. Many slave tribesmen are Rangers. The Gladiators are specialized warriors trained for combat in arenas. He is skilled in the use of many obscure weapons and combat techniques, including those particular to specific combat games and exhibitions popular among the general populace. As a note, there are no paladins in Athos. A wizard is able to capture and master magical energies. However, on Athos, magic and the ecosystem are irrevocably bound. No one, not even a wizard, can affect one without affecting the other. All wizards must decide at the beginning of their career whether they are trying to work with nature or without regard to it. In Dark Sun, this means the wizard must either be a defiler or a preserver. A defiler is a wizard who activates tremendous magical energy without regard to its effect on the environment. We've read this material kind of before in the last book. The preserver works with the environment. The illusionist, and remember in AD&D we sort of separated out wizards and the illusionist. The illusionist was also kind of strangely separate. The illusionist is a specialist wizard who wields magical illusions. An illusionist can be either a preserver or a defiler and will advance in levels accordingly. Illusionist can be from any social class. Vanessa's unpacking boxes. Vanessa just moved. Zero Theory, Gladiator was what I played. So now, priest classes. We've got 3 types of priest classes on Athos. Cleric, Templars, and Druids. Did we drop one? What was the other priest in AD&D? Or maybe we just added one. Okay, so the cleric is a free-willed priest tending to the needs of local people with his particular talents. On Athos, clerics draw their magical energy directly from one of the 4 elemental planes: earth, air, fire, or water, not from any manner of deity. A cleric may be either a freeman or a slave. The Templar is a regimented priest devoted to a single sorcerer king. Such disciples work within the hierarchy of a particular sorcerer king's clergy, advancing in power and position. A Templar draws his magical energy through the sorcerer king. A Templar can be either a freeman or a noble. Whereas a druid is a priest tied to a particular feature or aspect of Athos. Unique geographic features are guarded by spirits where druids serve. For example, a pooled oasis has its spirit, and a single druid will reside there to protect it and preserve and preside over its use by humans, demi-humans, and animals. The rogue class, okay, we've got thief and bard. Excuse me. We've got both thief and bard here. But then we have the psionicist class. And I thought that psionicist was its own class. I thought I remembered that was how psionicist worked in AD&D. The psionicist uses the forces of his own mind to affect his environment. Any human or demi-human character who meets his ability requirements may elect to be a psionicist. However, those who do not choose the Psionist class will have latent psionic powers. Every player character in Dark Sun, this is in bold, every player character in Dark Sun has latent psionic powers and will be a psionicist or wild talent. So we've got class ability score requirements. Oh, another change right here. Starting level in Dark Sun, all single-classed player characters start the campaign at 3rd level. A player character thus begins his adventuring career with the minimum number of experience points to obtain 3rd level. He gets the Thaco and saving throws of a 3rd level character plus any race or class benefits that apply. This rule reflects the fact that daily life on Athos is much harsher than in other AD&D realms, forcing characters to mature more quickly if they are to survive. All right, well, that's interesting. Starting hit points. Beginning characters determine their hit points in a fairly normal fashion. Roll a hit die. Hey, you know what? Well, actually, I kind of like it dark. Let's go with that. Beginning characters determine their hit points in a fairly normal fashion. Roll a hit die for each of the character's first 3 levels of experience, applying the Constitution modifier to the roll, and then determining their starting hit points. Proficiencies, it talked about using those and also for languages. So starting characters receive their initial weapon and non-weapon proficiencies, allow additional slots due to 3rd level. Thus, warriors receive an additional weapon slot, 5 total, an additional non-weapon slot, 4 total, for being of 3rd level. Wizards and priests receive an additional non-weapon proficiency, 5 total, for being 3rd level. For those not used to the system, remember that the number of languages column from Table 4, Intelligence, in the player's handbook indicates a number of bonus non-weapon proficiency slots. Okay, multi-class, class descriptions. Fighters, we already basically had some of that, which is the basic description, but I want to see if there's any like special abilities or powers or things, something like that. So we've got a fighter here. Fighters, followers. A fighter can supervise the construction of defenses when he reaches 6th level. A fighter can command large numbers of troops when he reaches 7th level. I've got the battle system over there. In battle system miniature rules terms, the fighter gains, as this is commanding a large body of troops. In role-playing terms, the fighter has mastered the skill techniques to take charge of 100 soldiers per level. This includes terminology, use of messengers and signals, use of psionic and magical aids in communication, rules for troop deployment, and such. In battle system miniature game rules, which I've got, the fighter gains a command distance. This value is calculated by adding the fighter's experience level to his loyalty base figure. All right, so Gladiator. Here's what Zero Theory was. The slave warriors of the city-states. So a gladiator is automatically proficient in all weapons. He never suffers a penalty for not being proficient in any weapon, even one that is new to him. A gladiator can specialize in multiple weapons. As a result of their years of training and discipline, gladiators are the ultimate masters of weapons. A gladiator character may specialize in any number of weapons, provided he has a number of proficiency slots required. Because you only got to do that with one weapon in typical AD&D rules. A gladiator is an expert in unarmed combat. He receives a 4-point modifier to punching and wrestling attack rolls, which he can use as a plus or minus to his roll after it's made. The gladiator may consult the punching and wrestling results table on the player's handbook when making this decision. I had a friend who that's one of his favorite tables. He got completely caught up on the punching and wrestling results table, and he made extensive use of punching and wrestling and had some rather dramatic rolls with it, because it was possible to like just knock a creature out completely. And he rolled that quite a few times, and also like to demonstrate the unarmed techniques that he was using in the living room as we were playing, like doing a flying elbow leap off of the couch or something like that. So got into the physical aspects of that. Daniel says, I didn't know that fighters were stand users in AD&D. Toadstool Hollow. Good morning, Toadstool Hollow. Good to see you. Hey, Nico. Good morning, Stargate Mind. Good to see you. I hope that everything is going well. I hope I have a great day. I am still tired sitting here. Maybe it needs to be just a chill day today. There's stuff I got to do. Maybe we'll see. A gladiator learns to optimize his armor when he reaches 5th level. He conditions himself to use his armor to his best advantage, dodging and moving his body in such a way that his opponents are confounded by his armor and shield. Provided the gladiator is wearing armor, his armor class is reduced by 1 for every 5 levels. This benefit does nothing for gladiators who aren't wearing armor, though. Some magical items do not count as armor, while others do. The DM must rule on a case-by-case basis. The gladiator attracts followers when he reaches 9th level. The followers arrive in the same manner as for fighters. A gladiator's first unit will always consist of other gladiators who have come to study his fighting style and learn from a true master. All right, then we have rangers. It says although the land is different from other AD&D campaign worlds, the role of a ranger is largely unchanged. So, all right, we'll skip over ranger then. So now headed down to wizards. Okay, so is a Defiler a type of wizard? I mean, obviously from the campaign and lore, but I guess it's okay. So it's a specialist wizard. You choose. So we got Defiler right there. Oh, it looks like Defiler experience levels. So Defiler is a type of wizard, and then Preserver. Okay, let's check that out then. Zero Theory says, haha, then I pile drive him like this. Crash. That's exactly what it was like. That was what it was like. That was, actually, I kind of want to go check that out now. Because those rules for the punching and wrestling results, I still have the AD&D books. Yeah. I thought punching and wrestling, though, was in the Dungeon Master's Guide. But it says it's over here. I kind of want to look at that table for old time's sake, because it was another one of those things that was kind of ad hoc. You know, one of the, you might say, charm of all of this was that there's no unified action resolution mechanic. And so all of these systems are just ad hoc built. Punching, 128. And the unarmed combat stuff was definitely one that was just kind of ad hoc and added back on, added on without a whole lot of thought to other things. Punching and wrestling results. Yeah, gee, even my eyes are not. Here, let me turn on this light over here for reading. So how do we resolve punching and wrestling? God. I can turn on the auxiliary camera, but everything is such a mess over here. But how do we resolve punching and wrestling in a really ad hoc way in AD&D? It says, so when punching or wrestling, a normal attack roll is made. The normal AC, or normal armor class of the target is used. If a character is attempting to wrestle in armor, the modifiers on table 37 are used. These are penalties to the attacker's attack roll. So we've got like studded leather is -1, chain ring and scale mail are -2, banded splint and scale armor are -5, field plate armor are -8, and full plate armor is -10 to try to punch and wrestle in. So you take penalties based on your armor when trying to punch and wrestle. Penalties for being held or attacking a held opponent do not apply to wrestlers. Wrestling involves a lot of holding and punching as it is, and damage resolution system for punishing and wrestling takes this into account. If the attack roll is successful, consult table 58 to find out the result of the attack. Cross-index the attacker's modified attack roll with the proper attack form. For instance, if a character successfully punched with an 18, the result would be a rabbit punch. If he rolled an 18 on a successful wrestling attempt, the result would be a kick. Okay, let me pull this up so you can see this table. Well, there we go. So you can see my art table, all my mess over here. But see, here's our punching and wrestling table. So we've got attack roll over here. It's got to be a successful attack roll. And then we've got the punch here, the amount of damage it does, KO, and the wrestling. So I guess this is the amount of damage. And then here's are you wrestling or are you punching? But then this was there was a KO percentage. That's what was what was so funny about this, is because when you made a punching or wrestling attack, there's this column right over here. There's a KO percentage. And I think that's why my friend liked it so much, is because if you were successful and you hit, I mean, you got rather small amounts of damage. 1 point of damage, 0 points of damage, 2 points of damage, whether you're wrestling or punching. But then you got to roll a percentile over here for the KO. And so that was just flat for basically like whatever kind of creature it was. So we had situations where there was some type of like large ogre creature that was in one of the introductory adventures. I think it was one of the introductory boxes. And he was big into using this at the time. And he KO'd that major ogre at the end of that campaign, like right off. Okay, I run up and punch it, or maybe that was the flying elbow leap or whatever it was. But then hit that and then rolled his KO percentage and knocked that ogre out cold. So punch, this is the type of blow landed. In game terms, the type of blow has little effect. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, so I rolled a 17. So I did a kidney punch for 1 point of damage. 12 or 11, a hook, 2 points of damage. 8, an uppercut for 1 point of damage, but you roll your KO percentage. Some of these are rather high. I mean, 10% chance. Haymaker, 2 points of damage. 10% chance of KO. Damage. Bare-handed attacks only cause 1 or 2 points of damage. Metal gauntlets, brass knuckles, and the like cause 1d3 points of damage. A character's strength bonus, if any, does apply. The strength bonus does apply to these punching attacks. Punching damage is handled a little bit differently than most damage. Only 25% of the damage caused by a bare-handed attack is normal damage. So this gets kind of complicated. The remaining 75% is temporary. For the sake of convenience, record punching damage separately from other damage and calculate the percentage split at the end of all combat. If a character reaches 0 hit points due to the punching attacks or any combination of punching and normal attacks, they immediately fall unconscious. Oh, I forgot that too. I mean, isn't that weird? But remember, wasn't it in 3rd edition that we started to have subdual damage? I wonder why my screen is so crazy. Wasn't that in 3rd edition? Because people have long tried to figure out how to add in some type of damage from... Oh, I think I know what's going on. Some type of damage from bare-handed attacks. Is that different from normal damage? Or is it not? I've got the wrong camera on. There we go. But this didn't have that. So this is telling you that to record your punching and your punching stuff separately. They didn't have the term subdual damage. They have temporary damage here. But then if you reach 0 hit points due to punching attacks or any combination of punching and normal attacks, they immediately fall unconscious, which was crazy because you could have somebody swinging a sword come in and knock the character down to 1 or 2 points of damage, and then have somebody come in with a swing and then knock the player out unconscious. Oh, we're going to check that out here in just a moment. LOL, I can see someone trying to KO a dragon. Yeah, KO equals submission. I mean, that's also I mean, generally that's can be a problem in games, because how do you handle somebody who doesn't want to kill someone, but they want to take them captive? Or what happens if the rule says they absolutely fall unconscious and now are in somebody else's hands? So the KO percentage, regardless of their remaining hit points, was pretty powerful. But so also that if you can drop them and using this ad hoc temporary hit point damage to 0, you would knock them out. And then, yeah, you're basically, they've submitted to you. So although a punch does little damage, it says with the KO percentage, although a punch does very little damage, there's a chance of knocking an opponent out. This chance is listed on the table as a percent KO. If this number is less, if this number or less is rolled on a percentile dice, that the victim is stunned for 1d10 rounds. Well, okay, so that actually doesn't say that they're KO'd. That says that they are stunned for 1d10 rounds. If you roll that percentage, it says they immediately fall unconscious if you bring them to 0 points. Why is it called the KO percentage then? Wrestle. This lists the action type of grip the character managed to get. Leg lock, leg twist, arm lock, elbow smash. The hold is broken by a throw, a gouge, and the assistance of another person, or the successful use of a weapon. All wrestling moves inflict 1 point of damage plus strength bonus. Well, okay, so actually, I guess that damage is just for punches then. All wrestling moves inflict 1 point of damage plus strength bonus if the attacker desires, while continued holds cause cumulatively 1 more point of damage for each round they're held. A headlock for 6 rounds would inflict 21 points of damage total. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. Remember, this is the equivalent of pressing hard on a full Nelson headlock for roughly 6 minutes. So that was how we did that back in the day. Zero Theory says, looking at this now through modern eyes, I'd probably rule this is only a humanoid versus humanoid thing and not have players trying to wrestle bullets, giant bugs, or whatnot. Yeah, because like GURPS gets into that too. And I think it goes into, now, what if you are trying to wrestle something that has multiple arms? Like, you're probably at a major disadvantage. That was a tangent, but a fun tangent, because it talked about that. Okay, so the dragon you went over earlier was a Defiler that went through the transformation process. So Jeff was saying that when a Defiler becomes 30th level, they become, or can become dragons. Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's go back to our book here. Down to Defiler. Okay, just like Preservers, Defilers can opt to specialize. Specialist Defilers are treated as explained in the player's handbook. Oh, so it's not exactly a specialist wizard, it's a type of wizard then. So this is more like wizard type and not specialist type, which I guess makes sense. The amount of damage to the environment done by the Defiler casting spells depends upon the level of the spell and the nature of the Defiler's surrounding area when he casts it. The rules governing this process are in Chapter 7, Magic. Okay, we'll get to that. Oh, so there actually isn't a whole lot of information on Defiler here, because I guess that's what you use as your class. It's very similar to Wizard. That must be total hit die. and not adding something to it. Notice you stop getting your full hit die at 11th level. Probably similar for wizards. Okay, so Preserver is a different type right here. So Dark Sun Preservers are treated just as the mages described in the player's handbook. They may specialize freely. A Preserver has an intelligence score of 16 or higher with a 10% bonus to the experience points that he earns. So Illusionist is also separate here. Illusionists are treated just as described in the player's handbook. They may be Defilers or Preservers, but that decision must be made when the character is created. They will advance in levels and cast spells as Defilers or Preservers. Okay, Priests. Cleric. See, but Templars are a new thing. Oh, yeah. The Clerics, though, are, yeah, so the Clerics are out there sort of... every Cleric must choose a one elemental plane as the focus of worship. Elemental plane of earth, elemental plane of air, fire, and water. Oh, it tells you what type of weapon they can use, too. Clerics have power over undead. Athasian clerics never gain followers, nor do they ever officially approve to establish a stronghold. However, any of these things may come about as the result of good role-playing. Oh, they never gain followers simply as a reward for advancing in levels, nor do they ever gain official approval. But you might with good role-playing. Clerics do gain certain powers with regard to the elemental planes of worship. They advance in levels. Clerics can ignore the presence of the element he worships when he reaches 5th level. Thus, a cleric of water may move through water freely, and one of earth may pass through stone walls as if it were not there. Well, this is powerful. Force exerted on the cleric by the element may also be ignored. A great wind does not affect the cleric of air. Flames will not burn a cleric of the flames. This protection extends to everything that a cleric is carrying on him at the time. A cleric may gate material directly from his elemental plane when he reaches 7th level. The amount of material he may gate is 1 cubic foot per level at 6th. This material is a pure specimen from the plane in question: earth, air, fire, or water. The exact nature of this material will be raw and basic, stone, not metal, from the plane of earth, air, flame, and liquid from their respective planes. Air so gated comes in the form of a terrific wind capable of knocking down a huge or smaller creature. It lasts 1 round. The shape of the gated material may be dictated by the cleric. A stone wall 1 inch thick, a sheet of flame surrounding an altar, etc., but cannot be gated more than 50 feet from the cleric. Material may only be gated once per day. Lord Fullman says they also need to level up as a psionicist as well. I think we're talking about defilers here. It's the Dragon King's book goes over advanced beings. That reference to Tyr God and City of Tyr crossover, the followers from good role-playing, LOL. LOL, give the fire cleric all of the maps and scrolls. Yeah, by the time he's immune to fire, he needs to be carrying all of that. Although not a granted power, a cleric can conjure elements from his elemental plane when he reaches 9th level, since Conjure Elemental is a 5th level spell in Dark Sun. The 6th level spell Conjure Fire Elemental and the 7th level Conjure Earth Elemental have been removed from the Dark Sun clerical spell lists. Druid. Okay, here we've got Templar. Okay, we know these are the greatly feared disciples of the Sorcerer Kings, who draw their magic from the Sorcerer King. At the highest level, Templars have more spells available to them than clerics at the same level, but they they gain them slower, I remember it saying. Yeah, their spell progression levels is slower. So that's, again, the AD&D theory on balance. There are no good Templars. So a Templar character may be either neutral or evil. There are no good Templars. All right, so let's see their abilities here. Oh, Templars have the ability, a power over the undead, but only to raise or ally with them, never to turn them away. As discussed for evil priests and undead in the player's handbook, this is resolved in the same way as a turning attempt. Up to 12 undead can be commanded. A T result means the undead automatically obey the Templar, while a D means the undead become completely subservient to the Templar. They follow his commands until turned, commanded, or destroyed by another. Okay, you gain certain powers within his city-state. A Templar can call upon a slave to do whatever he wants. Slaves who do not do as ordered by a Templar face immediate death. A Templar can pass judgment on a slave at any time. In any matter resolving disobedience or the actions of a slave, a Templar may judge, sentence, or pardon a slave as he sees fit, regardless of who owns the slave. Penalties can include imprisonment, torture, or even death. A Templar can legally enter the house of any freeman when he reaches second level. The freeman has no right to refuse the Templar admission under punishment of imprisonment and possible execution. A Templar can requisition soldiers when he reaches third level. He can call upon 1d4 soldiers per level. The soldiers will all be first-level Templars with 1 second-level Templar Centurion. A Templar can call upon soldiers anytime he wishes, but the soldiers cannot be ordered to leave the city without permission from the Templar Sorcerer King. A Templar can accuse a freeman of disloyalty or similar crimes when he reaches fourth level. Regardless of evidence, an accused freeman will be locked in dungeons of the Sorcerer King for as long as the accusing Templar wishes. A Templar can gain access to all places, all areas and palaces and temples when he reaches fifth level. Before that time, the Templar is restricted from such areas as libraries and council chambers unless ordered to go there by a higher level Templar. The Templar can draw upon the city's treasury for official investigations when he reaches sixth level. The number of gold pieces he can draw from the treasury is equal to the roll of a number of 10-sided dice equal to the Templar's level, multiplied by his level per month. For instance, a 7th level Templar would roll 7d10 and then multiply that result by 10. Few questions are asked when this gold is requisitioned, provided no attempt is made to withdraw funds more often than once a month. A Templar can pass judgment on a freeman when he reaches 7th level. The freeman must be at least 2 levels lower than the judging Templar, regardless of the freeman's class. Judgment can be in the form of a fine. I haven't ever seen anything like this before. So these are like social powers here, especially in like 5th edition, where everything seems to be like a magic power. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Yep, we're talking Dark Sun campaign setting here, an AD&D campaign setting. Up to now, wrestling, barehanded fighting, and reviewing the classes. Oh, yeah. Sarah says, these Templars violating the Bill of Rights left and right. Nico says, what's the meaning of this Templar thing? Is it like an anti-paladin? Sounds like the villain before the main villain in a video game. Well, I guess it could be. So they get cleric spells, but they worship the Sorcerer King, and so the Sorcerer King is able to actually grant them spells. But yeah, it seems like this seems like they're inquisitors, and they're only neutral or evil, so they can't be good. So I guess you could play one, but you have to be neutral. I mean, it's here in the potential classes for player characters. Maybe you could play one trying to neutral and trying to right some wrongs or something like that. Well, it seems like it. That's here. Yeah, player. This is under player character classes here in Dark Sun. So we just had judgment can be in the form of a fine, a stretch of time in the dungeons, enslavement, execution, or anything else the Templar wishes. Failure to comply makes the judged freeman an outlaw who, if caught, will be executed. Again, there is no need for real evidence against the freeman being judged. A Templar can accuse a noble when he reaches 10th level. This is similar to the ability of a Templar to accuse a freeman, but permits the character to take action against the nobility on behalf of the Sorcerer King. A Templar can pass judgment on a noble, just as he can judge a freeman when he reaches 15th level. A noble must be at least 2 levels lower than the judging Templar. A Templar can grant a pardon to any condemned man when he reaches 17th level. Only the Sorcerer King can nullify the pardons granted by such a character. As a rule, a Templar can have no more than 1 man accused and in the dungeons per level. He may judge or pardon no one more than once per week. He may never accuse, judge, or pardon another Templar who is of equal or higher level. The Templar hierarchy is measured strictly by experience level. A Templar of higher level can negate any action taken by one of a lower level, prevent the requisition of money or troops, releasing accused prisoners, etc. Templars of the same level who disagree must seek out someone of higher level within the hierarchy to arbitrate their differences. Templars never gain followers, as do clerics. They never receive official approval for established religious stronghold. A Sorcerer King's life revolves around his one city, and while that may expand, he never opens branch areas that he cannot control. So, rogue, we have bard, and we have thief. Let's see, how do they change? Athasian bards have no restriction to their armor or weapon choices. However, they tend to wear no armor. Let's see. A bard has a bewildering variety of benefits. A bard can use all thief abilities: pick locks, open traps, find, remove traps, move silently, hide in shadows, hear noise, climb walls, and read languages. The initial values of these skills are given in the thieving base skill scores table and is modified by race, dexterity, and armor worn. Unlike thieves, bards add nothing to these base values at level 1. Each time the bard rises in level experience, the player receives another 20 points to distribute. Because these were all percentile based in AD&D. And I remember you had those different categories of skills, and they all had a percentage chance to be effective. And then every time you gained a level, you got, for instance, 20 points. You could distribute as you like among all of your skills. Joe says Templars are the servants and police force of the Sorcerer Kings. Yeah, it's the Inquisitors are also like the secret police. That's the way I was thinking. Yeah, they're like the secret police. Bards add assassin to their skill set, but can't cast spells. A bard can influence reactions, just as described in the player's handbook. Music, poetry, and stories of the bard can be inspirational, as described in the player's handbook. Bards can learn a little bit of everything, again, just as described in the player's handbook. A bard is a master of poisons, knowledgeable in both their use and manufacture. Each level, the bard rolls 1d4 and adds it to his level to determine which new poisons he has mastered, on the table below. If the bard already has mastered the poison rolled, he gains no new poison at that level. If the roll is 18 or higher, the bard may choose another poison. So here is our poison roll. The methods of application are in Chapter 9, Combat Dungeon Master's Guide. And we talked about poison being a bit more vicious in AD&D than it is in 5th edition. So, different poison classes, onset time, strength. So, thieves, I would think that would be an iconic class in this campaign setting. So, Psionicist Dark Sun variation. In Dark Sun, a character will have a wisdom or dexterity. In Dark Sun campaign setting, a character may have a wisdom or constitution score as high as 22. This table is the expanded version of what's in the Complete Psionics Handbook, covering the higher scores. All player characters, even those who do not meet the ability requirements for the Psionist character class, are automatically wild talents, as described in the Complete Psionicist Handbook. They may roll for their devotions, as described here. We'll have to get into that book later. All right, let's skip over multi-class and dual-class characters. In Dark Sun campaign settings, in the Dark Sun campaigns, players are encouraged to use character trees, where they play with only one character at a time, but they have 4 to call upon at the beginning of any particular adventure. In brief, a character tree consists of 1 active character, which the player is using as his player character, and 3 inactive characters. The active character takes part in the adventure, performing actions in the campaign world. When a new adventure begins, the player may switch to one of his inactive characters or keep his previously active character to continue play. And we're doing this. Why? Dark Sun campaigns are set in a violent world. Powerful magics and psionics, desperate hordes of raiders, and even the unforgiving desert wastes all conspire against player characters. Death is not at all uncommon in Athos, nor is it uncommon for player characters in the Dark Sun campaigns. Replacing a fallen player of high level with a novice first-level character is never satisfying for the player. Also, where there's a new character fits in the plot, Also, where this new character fits into the plot is usually contrived on the spot, and therefore you set up this character tree. So a player should completely roll up 4 characters. Once this is done, the player selects the character he intends to run for the first adventure, making this one of his active characters. The other 3 are inactive. That's a lot of playing. A lot of characters. It takes time. Like if you want to switch between active and inactive characters during an adventure, it usually imposes a 3d6 delay as you're sending messages or journeying and such back and forth. So these characters aren't like with you as NPCs. When the active character dies, one of the inactive characters on the tree is assumed to arrive on the scene within 1 day. The player picks which inactive character will arrive and must subsequently roll a new first-level character to occupy the vacant slot on the tree. If circumstances make it difficult for a new character to arrive, the DM may be forced to extend that period before the newly activated adventurer arrives. Inactive characters are not NPCs or followers. There's a lot of material on this. Well, they're not as good. The thieves are better at all of that because the bard was supposed to be the bard had all of the abilities, but in AD&D it was not as good at all of them. So it was one of those classic skilled in skilled in all but a master of none. So yeah, you got it. You got a bunch of different things as a bard, but you weren't as good at them as any dedicated class. James Bacon, do we know who created this setting and have they ever been asked about the works and authors that influenced them? Because I'd bet Dune really gripped them at some point. Well, I'm sure we've got the authors and stuff in these books. Dune may have been influenced, certainly. Instead of the Emperor of the Universe, we have more local sorcerer kings, but the structure seems similar. Nico says, I heard that Gygax wasn't a big fan of Tolkien, and he was thinking more of Conan and Pulp when he made D&D. Do the inactive characters level up simultaneously? It seems like no. Let's see. Oh, no, actually, look at this. Look at this. You're right. You're right. The active character in a campaign receives experience points and advances in levels just as described in the player's handbook. Every time the active character goes up a level of his experience, the player may also advance one of his inactive characters 1 level. The inactive character chosen must be of a lower level than the active character. Adjust the experience points total on that active character sheet to the minimum number for the new level attained. For purposes of character tree advancement, multi and dual class characters that are inactive may advance just 1 class. So yeah, so the inactive character, when the active character goes up a level experience, the player may also advance 1 inactive character 1 level. Using character tree to advantage. The character tree's chief purpose is to give every player a pool of adventurers to choose from for different situations, or when one of his characters dies. The player is familiar with these characters and can apply their strengths more readily than he might be able to with freshly created characters. However, if care is taken, the character tree can be a valuable tool for a player in an extended campaign. As only one inactive character gains a level of experience every time the active player does so, deciding which character to advance might be a decision based on which direction the campaign seems to be taking. For instance, a large war is in progress, a character may wish to use his fighter for the active character. If the war is winding down, he might choose to advance an inactive non-fighter character for the post-war adventure to continue. As another example, the quest may be a dangerous trek across the wilderness to steal a magic item from an ancient Defiler's mansion. The player may use his ranger character to make the journey, but all the while might be using his inactive character's advancement to make his thief more powerful for the final assault on the mansion. Even though characters are on the same tree, they cannot freely exchange equipment, magic items, cash, or personal possessions. Keep separate lists for each such items. In some instances, if there is a compelling reason to do so, characters may exchange important items or information, but this option is an option that can really be easily abused. In general, items stick with the original character, and that's that. Lord Fulmine says, this is long after Gygax left TSR. Yeah, I believe we said this was published in 1991, I believe. Bards used to be the skill monkeys. After Thief was parlayed into Rogue, the skill monkey status was passed to them. Yeah. Again, that's what I think. When I think of a Bard, I think of skills. But yeah, you're right that in 5th edition, the, hey, I've got all the skills is now the Rogue. Thieves are really good at stealing stuff, but that was about it. If you can only level 1 backup, it seems like other characters are always going to be too weak. Hey, Judy. Hello. Hey, Heath. Judy says, hey, chat, dropping in for a few minutes, but wanted to show my support for these discussions. Great to see you, Judy. So now we are over here with alignment. So what is changing in Dark Sun with alignment? As stated in the player's handbook, consider alignment as a tool, not a straitjacket that restricts the character. Alignment in desperate situations, optional rule. Life-threatening circumstances always put a character's alignment to the test. How he acts, how he treats other characters in the party, and how he controls his own actions can change dramatically with desperation. These rules are presented chiefly to govern situations where water is in short supply, but they can be adopted to a variety of other situations. The commodity of short supply could be just as easily food in times of famine, the antidote to poison, a cure for widespread disease, air in a collapsed tunnel, etc. I thought you were going to be talking about like about to be killed by a monster. A party of characters that has a potentially deadly shortage of water will have to take several things into consideration. Individually, characters should react based on their alignment. As a group, they will have to examine which of their number are strong and capable and which are weak and need of assistance. Players may need to give more water to certain individuals so they can survive to cast spells or fight foes. How characters react to such plans again rests with their alignment. Lawful good. So here are some examples. A character of this alignment will insist that everyone gets an even share of what water there is, even those in the party who seem beyond hope. He will readily conceive of and accept plans that call for an unequal distribution of water for the good of the group, but will not ever let the weak or dying go without water. Lawful neutral. Such characters will insist that everyone get an even share of available water, but won't care one way or the other about characters that may be beyond hope. He will also accept plans that call for unequal distributions of water for the good of the group. Lawful evil. A character with this alignment will insist that all available water be evenly distributed among the able-bodied of the group, but won't offer any of those who seem too far gone. He will accept plans that call for unequal distribution of water for the good of the group, especially if that means more water for him. A neutral good character will insist that everyone in the group get an even share of the remaining water, even the severely dehydrated. He will consider plans calling for unequal water distribution, but will have to be convinced of that plan will ultimately benefit the party and not hurt him personally. True neutral. A character of this alignment will want a fair share for himself, but won't necessarily come to the aid of the very weak. He will consider plans that call for unequal distribution, but only if he and the party will benefit in the short term. Neutral evil. A character of this alignment will insist on his fair share and will be against giving water to the very weak. He will consider plans for unequal distribution of water, but only if he personally will benefit soon. Chaotic good. A chaotic good character will insist that everyone get an even share of the water available, even the very weak. He will not consider plans calling for unequal distribution unless he and those he likes personally get more water as part of the plan. That's chaotic good. Chaotic neutral. Such a character will insist on his fair share and won't concern himself with the plight of the very weak. He won't consider plans calling for unequal water distribution unless he personally gets more water as part of the plan. Chaotic evil. A chaotic evil character will freely lie, cheat, and even kill to get all the water he can. He will constantly suggest plans calling for unequal water distribution that grant him additional water immediately. Yeah, Zero Theory says, at the time that period this was made, it was common that if your character died, your new one came in at a lower level or resurrected at one level lower. Joe Russell says, in our group, we never used the character trees. Paul Singleton says, well, the starting level being 3rd for a single class character, the backups aren't horribly behind if you use them early. Sarah says, I haven't played this older style, but I feel like how characters are the same level in 5e. But I like how characters are the same level in 5e. I'm not interested in relative power or competition storytelling. And yeah, that's the common way to play now. And even in Pathfinder 2nd edition, it was saying that even if players miss a session, you should level them up all equally. If you see the class descriptions, each one uses a unique XP table. So GM would just dish out XP, then players leveled at different rates. Yeah, that's true. You didn't just have one, here's how many experience to get to the next level. Every class leveled at a different rate. James says, selfishness can be evil, but in a survival situation, it often isn't. Beyond this, I've always disagreed with the alignment characterization of evil as selfish. Stargate Mind says, the fastest and easy alignment replacements are called enneagrams. Check them out for your tables. Enneagrams? Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Sarah says, these descriptions are interesting, but I feel like I could debate with some of them. Temperament and demeanor. What about severe desperation? For the purposes of this rule, severe desperation sets in when one member of the party, either a PC or NPC, dies from dehydration and the situation shows no sign of changing. At such time, the DM should make a wisdom check for each character every day to avoid madness. The madness created by water deprivation forces a character to adopt a chaotic evil alignment for that day with regards to obtaining water. The DM should inform the player of this temporary alignment change. The player should do his best to adopt the madness of his character's style. A stupid gladiator might simply take out his sword and demand the water, whereas a bard might poison some of his fellows in secret to increase his share. If a player is unwilling to take appropriate actions, the DM should make the character into an NPC until the madness wears off. It is mostly for this reason that this rule is optional. Alignment-related class abilities are lost during the period of madness. Once a character has a successful wisdom check or is rehydrated, the madness goes away. Well, we are closing in on an hour. I want to flip through what other things we've got to talk about here and see where we are. We're having a discussion about survival and good here. Well, I forget what the original thing was. Selfishness can be evil, but in a survival setting, it isn't often, or it doesn't have to be. So Nico and James are discussing that. Sarah says, this also seems like a lot of engineering the role-playing itself. Well, I think there were tended to be more things like this in AD&D that was kind of I don't know, was it expecting you have a mixed alignment party? I remember in a player's handbook, it does talk about a lot about the attitude toward other players if you are of different alignment and how you would handle different situations. I remember that being an example someplace. I'm going to have to look at that later. Judy says, hey, Heath, is this the campaign that someone said was problematic? Exactly. That's why we're looking at it. Like I said, this one's probably getting the Streisand effect because on Kyle Brink, when he was on Bob Worldbuilder's channel, Bob Worldbuilder asked about returning to Dark Sun because this is a very popular campaign setting. A lot of people around here have really enjoyed it and talked about how they really enjoyed it. But this was specifically called out as a campaign setting that he said that Wizards of the Coast did not want to return to because some of the material was, yes, quote, problematic. And we talked about using that term on other, about the use of that term and what we think about that term in other streams. But yes, so this is our example of one that was specifically called out as problematic. See you later, Mike. Alignment in second ed was definitely different from how we talk about things today, brinksmanship aside. Brinkmanship aside, brinkmanship. I like that too. Judy says, I live in the desert. Water is a real scarcity. For me, exploring these ideas in RPGs is a good way to figure stuff out. So we do have, we got proficiencies here. New non-weapon proficiencies, bargain, heat protection, psionic detection, sign language, water find. For priest, bureaucracy, somatic concealment, warrior, armor optimization, weapon improvisation, wizard, somatic concealment. Oh, somatic concealment is one weapon, non-weapon proficiency. So there weren't skills. There were just there were weapon and non-weapon proficiencies. So bargain, for instance, bargain, a character with the bargain proficiency can haggle over price, service, and barter transactions to capture a better deal. In a cash transaction, a successful check allows the character to purchase an item for 10% less or sell one for 10% more than the going rate. Oh, heat protection is probably really valuable. A character with the heat protection proficiency has learned to use clothing and personal pacing to optimize endurance against the rigors of Athos heat. With a successful check, the character need only consume half the normal amount of water per day to avoid dehydration. In combat, the heat protection proficiency allows a character wearing metal armor to battle better and longer. A successful check each round allows the character to avoid the Thaco loss for that round. In addition, when the character reaches his Constitution score limit to rounds of combat, a successful check, those rules must be someplace else, reaches his Constitution score to limit rounds of combat, a successful check will allow him to fight for 5 more rounds. This check can be made at the end of every subsequent 5-round period, but once failed, the character collapses from exhaustion. Dehydration receives full explanation in Chapter 14, Time and Movement. Okay, so that's where we have to go with that. Psionic detection. Sign language, water find, also water find probably also important here. Well, what does it say? What did water find say? Even the most barren desert yields water to those who know how to find it. Small animals burrow in the ground and store water there. Some rare plants store water in a cistern roots beneath the soil. Seemingly lifeless trees sometimes have moist heartwood. The find water proficiency can only be used once per day and takes an hour to perform. During this time, the character can only move half as far as normal. A successful check indicates he's found water to sustain himself for 1 day. It does not mean that he has found enough water to rehydrate, but it will not further dehydrate that day. The character can only find enough water for himself. If he shares this find with others, none of them gains any benefit. Uses of existing proficiencies in Dark Sun. Architecture, armorer, artistic ability, blacksmithing, fishing, navigation, religion, seamanship. The use of the survival proficiency in Dark Sun. Okay, let's do that, and then we'll save money and equipment until tomorrow. Money and equipment's always fun. So we'll handle that one tomorrow. Let's see. Hell Senti says, are we reading the second edition DS books or the system agnostic stuff available online? This is the second edition AD&D boxed set. I got it as a PDF on drive-through. So apparently there were 2 different releases of Dark Sun during the time, and the first one was this is the first one. So it's AD&D. Yeah, so we're having a discussion about the presence of slavery in Dark Sun. See, Sarah, I mean, I was bringing up this point here that, that about their choice whether or not they sell it or not. I had talked about that, I believe, yesterday or the day before. We probably talked about it a couple of times. The issue for me wasn't the fact that, yeah, no one has to do anything. It's not like they have to return to this setting. But I didn't appreciate the moralizing on it. Because it may very well be, like I was saying, that they're trying to take Dungeons and Dragons in a much more mass market, family friendly way. They want to, especially with the release of the Marvel movie, the Marvel like the Dungeons and Dragons movie and things like that. But to me, what they should have done is just come out and said that, hey, we're trying to move Dungeons and Dragons into a much more mass market friendly, family friendly kind of thing. And something like the Dark Sun campaign setting is pretty harsh and vicious, and we just don't want that to be part of Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Okay, you can like that, you can not like that, whatever. But what I don't like is the implied moralizing on people who do appreciate other types of storytelling and things like that. We've talked about that a few different times here on this channel about morality clauses and things like that. And it seems like lately I am constantly running into different things checking me on what I can and can't do for supposedly moral reasons. Oh, and actually I did finally run into that on the art generators, the AI art generators. I'm constantly being lectured to about morality from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is definitely I'm I'm often asking it about things. It's like, oh my God, you can't. It's not good to talk about that. I can't talk about that. But I wasn't having that problem with, for instance, Mid-Journey. But I did run into some situations. Was that yesterday or over the last few days where Mid-Journey is also telling me that it can't generate art because I'm using banned words. It didn't like the word gutted. You can't generate something with gutted. I think blood. It did. I think blood. It also rejected. It said you can't generate something with blood. With the word blood. And there may have been 1 or 2 others, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So that's what I that. Yeah, some people wouldn't want it remade anyway. So some people have posted that in the comment section anyway, that better to not redo it rather than like completely neuter it or something like that. Judy says, I believe that discussing the big issues in real life can be explored in tabletop RPGs, something in a safer way that we can in a safer way than can in person. And with our capitalism, we are free to walk with our money. Jeff says it comes off as a very much reskinned Roman Empire. Dark Sun does? I hadn't gotten that feeling. James says, completely agree. Moralization is adversarial and assumes the ignorance of the audience is abysmal. Chat GPT, Sarah says, has so many scary aspects that I'm okay with a safe version for now. Okay, let's take a look at survival here. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Tomocrat. The uses of survival proficiency in Dark Sun. So, as described in the player's handbook, each slot of survival proficiency must be applied to a specific type of terrain. Athos contains sandy wastes, stony barrens, rocky badlands, salt flats, mountains, jungles, and steppes. Survival proficiency gives the characters a chance to locate food and water in that particular terrain, but only in minuscule amounts. A successful check allows a character to find enough water to avoid losing any constitution points from dehydration. The character will not rehydrate, and he may continue to dehydrate on subsequent days if he doesn't receive water. The same check allows a character to find enough food to sustain himself for 1 day. Survival proficiency helps the character avoid poisons. A successful check informs the character whether or not a plant or animal is poisoned, providing the type of source is native to the proficiency's terrain type. So it sounds like survival is just better because it gives you a chance to locate food and water in the particular terrain, but only in minuscule amounts. It allows you to have enough water to avoid losing any constitution points from dehydration, but you're not going to rehydrate. But that was basically the same kind of situation with the find water. It takes an hour. You only find normal. Takes an hour. You only find enough to sustain yourself, not enough to rehydrate, but keep you from dehydrating. Survival seems like it allows you to find food as well. So maybe just survival is just better. Take survival and not water, finding water. Okay, chapter 6, we'll move on to money and equipment tomorrow. So what are the other chapters in here? So we'll be looking at money, equipment tomorrow. Now my philosophy, rather than trying to rotate is through several different things, is just to, well, hey, while we're investigating this, we're just going to plow on day by day until we look at everything we want to look at in the Dark Sun. And I believe this is the last book we need to look at in the Dark Sun campaign setting. And we don't have to look at every one of these sections, but coming up in money and equipment, magic, we definitely want to take a look at magic because we may finally get some rules for the Defiler and the Preserver in there. Experience, combat, treasure, encounters, NPC, time and movement. That one's where we had our survival stuff in and dehydration. So I guess we need to look at that and new spells. So I guess we will continue on with that tomorrow. I was talking earlier in the stream that on Sundays, I typically do a Crafter's Corner at night, but I only have 4 more characters to finish, and I might just finish those up this afternoon or something sitting here, and that way I can clean up all of the stuff that's sitting here on my desk as far as painting goes. And then all of my Hero Quest miniatures will be ready to start streaming Hero Quest for dinner and a board game. There's some other things I've got to do to prepare for that, like cleaning up the rest of the living room for streaming. I'm going to move the streaming for the game, if I can, into the living room so I can actually use more of my house. I set up my house for streaming. When I was renovating my house, that was kind of my purpose. I installed like mounts in the ceiling for cameras and things like that. That way I could stream. So different parts of the house are set up for that. So I just got to make better use of it. Everything seems to have migrated in here to the office. So I might not do a Crafter's Corner tonight. I might do something else. If I do, I will post it to the YouTube community tab, and then I will also post it in the Ravenkeep Discord and put an announcement out in there. Let me put the link to the Ravenkeep Discord again right here. And yeah, you're welcome to continue discussions of in the Discord server. Zero the Blade says Dark Sun is a twisted backstabbing campaign setting. The Wizards of the Coast is trying to D&D to be a team game and will punish any lone wolf players for trying to hog the spotlight. I'm playing Midgard campaign. I do love Midgard. They've done a great job with that. I played in a game with of Midgard with Lou. I'm playing the Midgard setting with Kobold Press right now, and this week we ended up in an Underdark witnessing a cannibalism ceremony of ghouls eating slaves, and it was super dark. We almost got TPK too. So the dark settings still feel possible today. Was it ChatGPT or another AI that went dark within a very short time of interacting with us messy humans? Well, there have been a few different instances of that. Depending on which way, there have been a few different instances you could be referring to. There was one that was earlier that was not ChatGPT that was just put out through Twitter. And I think that did not go well. Micah says, definitely more detailed and nuanced. Yes. Joshua says, I've run a game of Dark Sun, although there's a lot of rules for the setting. Dark Sun just encourages more tracking of resources, which is usually hand-waved due to GM discretion. The money for Dark Sun always confuses me. All right, well, we'll take a look at that in the morning. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. Oh, the magic is my favorite part of the setting, James says. So we'll get into that as well. I want to make sure I know how to use the Defiler who's taking energy from the landscape. All right. Well, I guess that is all for right now. Everybody, I hope that you have a good Sunday. I hope that it is productive. I hope that it is I hope it's productive. I hope it's fun. I hope that you get to do something creative or something that you want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got stuff I'm supposed to be doing, but man, I am still tired. So I'll let you know what's going on tonight through the YouTube community tab and the Discord if something starts happening. But otherwise, maybe I ought to clean up or something. I don't know. But it was a fantastic discussion. I really enjoyed these. So the Dark Sun campaign setting has inspired some really good discussion. So I really like going through the books that does. So this is always great to have everybody. So, all right, I will see you tonight or at least in the morning. Bye, everybody. Grind on.